have one of like these important connections that you would like to speak about that you've made throughout like through football?
Yeah, I mean, loaded question because there's so many like really cool people that you meet along the way. I mean, in terms of like teammates that I've got to meet, like I'm still like from McMaster, like we all still hang out, like we're all still good friends and we get together and do stuff. Edmonton, I'm still really tight with, a ton of the guys. One story I'll give you is when I got to Edmonton, and I showed up, I was on the practice roster to start. So how that works is you get put up in like a hotel because it's like, okay, you're on the practice roster, they're not really paying you much. Like here's a hotel room to like live. But as soon as you get activated to the active roster, it's like, nah, like you're on your own now. And I'm like fresh out of university, so I show up. They're like, you're playing against Toronto. By the way, like figure out where you're living right now. I was like, well, I don't even know like what the heck am I going to do? So I was just kind of standing there in the locker room, and so one of the defensive line guys, and we had been together all training camp a little bit, but they were just like, dude, like we've got a perfect setup for you. Don't worry about it. And I was like, well, this is better than living on the street. So I was like, sure, let's do it. And so I ended up for the better part of a month, essentially living in a closet. Now, the closet is a strong word. It wasn't like in the bedroom. It was like in the hallway. So I had kind of like a Harry Potter thing going on. I could like get an air mattress going. It couldn't go down all the way. It was kind of like going up a little bit. So I had that going for a month. But I mean, I think that just speaks to like, when you have teammates like that, guys really take care of each other. And even like now to this day, like we hit each other up all the time. And so, I mean, going forward, for the rest of your life, you just make some like really cool, tight relationships. Cause like with football, it's like when the times are tough, they're tough. So like it really kind of forces you to be close and be tight. So yeah, I mean, I've got tons of friendships like that throughout football. It's hard to kind of to pick one, but yeah.
Yeah, but when you were talking about all these things, like a lot of the thing that like really shoots out at me is that some of these things must have been really hard, like when you got cut or even when you had to sleep in a closet compared to like your really nice bed at home. Like how'd you just keep staying positive when these things were happening to you?
Yeah, I think the best advice I've been given is just to kind of like control what you can control. So I mean, for me, it was a big thing was setting goals, and so I knew what I wanted. And then when I set goals, like I'd set big goals, so like I want to play in the CFL, and then everything from there it was like, well, I can't get 6'5", 280. It's just not gonna. I can't really control that, but I can control how I work out. I control et cetera, et cetera. And so once you apply that to a bit of everything, it really helps, especially in those times like when times are getting like really tough, right? So it's like you get cut and it's like, well, that really sucks, but I can't really control what the coaches are going to do. What I can control is I'm going to work out really hard for 3 weeks so that if I get a phone call to play in Toronto, I can go out and make a play, right? So, I think just that mentality has really helped me. And not only just with football, even with school, right? I mean, if you get a crappy mark on a midterm or presentation, it's not, oh man, I really hate this, like shut down. It's like, no, okay, let's look at the syllabus. Where can I make this up? Like, how am I gonna bounce back for this? So I think just kind of having that like what is within my control mentality has helped me a ton. Not just with football, but definitely with school, and I'm sure it's going to help me a ton moving forward with medicine because there's just the hurdles just get bigger and grander as you keep going. So, but yeah, I think just control what you can control.
So, Mark, one thing that actually intrigued me with what you just said was the fact that you had 3 weeks to work out as much as possible. So, could you actually walk me through what that intense workout routine was? Because, I mean, because of Corona and stuff, I used to work out a lot, and I've kind of fallen off. So, I was just wondering, what are some like workout tips that you can give, to like build up muscles super fast?
For sure. So when I was working out in Hamilton, I was working out of Players Paradise, and they kind of had like an area, like a high performance center. And the way we would do it is I would go for like a heavy lift for about 2 hours, would chill out, and then I'd go back and like they had like a bubble, so they had like the whole like Olympic sized soccer field there, and then that's when we would kind of start like conditioning. And so generally it would be about 4 or 5 times a week of we'd go heavy lower, then accessory upper, accessory or heavy upper. So I mean, we're just crushing the weights. I mean, in terms of getting as strong and as big as fast as possible, it's all about working till failure. It's all about making sure that you're getting that progressive overload. So I mean, bench press, for example, you're going 5x5, heavy as you can go, and then next week it's let's put on some more weight. So the thing that's been nice for me, and what I think is a big, if you're going to be weightlifting, is make sure you have a buddy, make sure you have a group, and then you got to always kind of be competing, make it kind of competitive in the weight room. So yeah, I mean, just lift heavy and lift until failure. I think there's so many like crazy workout programs out there that is going to make you do a bunch of different things, but the common theme between all of them is lift as much as you can till failure, again and again and again, and keep putting more weight on. So I am going crazy, by the way, because I haven't been able to go to the gym or anything. I'm also kind of locked in, and I'm doing these online workouts, but I can only do so many like burpees and push-ups. I'm going crazy. Like, give me a squat rack.
Yeah, I think it's the same for everyone who wants to work out. We like you said, you always want to have a group when you go to the gym. It was actually us that used to go to the gym together. It was a bunch of our friends. We used to go to the gym, and it would just be us competing with each other. Who's gonna bench higher than the other?
It's the best way to do it.
Yeah. I used to always cheat with the sweats machine, and then just put up more weights and be like, hey, I'm benching more, but really it's just a hack. But I think the reason Russell asked that question, and it's a funny story. We actually had our frosh in 2019, and we wanted to join football, the U of T football team. And we went to one of our frosh leaders, and we went and asked them, and we were like, hey, where's the football group? We want to go and meet them, and we want to try out. And he looked at us, and he looked at me, looked up and down, checked Nimit out, checked Russell out. He's like, okay, how tall are you? 6'6". Okay. How much do you weigh? Right? And he's like, if you're under 200, don't talk to me. And he's like, go to the gym, go eat, come back to me, and then we'll talk. So I think that just gave us our answer there. And then it was just embarrassing to just see him in the hallways after that.
Oh, you can't let those guys boss you around. The Toronto football team, come on. I've played against Toronto a couple times. You guys could have, you guys definitely, they could have found a spot for you guys, I'm sure.
No, it was a lot like you said, because like we're all 6 feet tall. So then when we were in high school, and we were still like, we had some weight compared to like all like the flimsy people. So we used to be the big guys, especially in grade 9 and 10. And we'd run over people too. And then we got to university, and then we just saw these guys lifting like as like 5 plates and 6 plates, and we were out here lifting like maybe 2 or 3. It's not even a comparison.
But that's just it, right? Because they've had like 4 years to be at university, just like taking basket weaving 101 and then just crushing weights for like 8 hours. You know what I mean? Like they got some grown men there sometimes. You got it. So that's too funny.
It's just a good experience just to grow as a person. I feel like working out also makes you less anxious and stuff, reduces the stress, at least for me. But I think that's like a good segue into moving into medicine, because this is like the main question that I think everyone would ask you, which is that why did you leave football to pursue medicine, and why did you actually want to be a doctor?
So I mean, for me, it was, jumping back to that time where I was like, football is super cool. And then I was like, wow, exercise science is pretty cool. At the same time, I was getting injured a whole ton because I was playing every sport I could. So I was spending a ton of time, like in London, we got the Fowler, sport clinic. And that's when I kind of got to interact with like, physios, ATs, sport docs. And I was like, these people do this for like a living. Like they get to be around sports all the time, like this biology stuff all the time. So I was like, this is what I want to do. I wasn't sure exactly like doctor at that point, but I was like, exercise science, like medicine. Like I was like, let's do it. And so, but as you know, as I went through like my undergrad, I slowly kind of, and interacting with like the team docs, like more and more, I was like, okay, like the medicine side of stuff is like what I'm really after. And but at the same time, I kind of had football going on, so I kind of had those two, you know, big goals in mind of, you know, I want to take football as far as I can, and then eventually I was like, okay, yeah, definitely, I want to kind of pursue medicine, because, you know, I had just kind of had these so many experiences, you know, with these sport docs. So I was like, this, yeah, I definitely want to try to do that. And so, you know, the crazy thing with the football is it just like, it kind of worked out, right? And for football, it's, you know, you can't just, you're not gonna, you know, push that off, right? Like you got to kind of do that first. So, you know, with the CFL, I said, you know, I'm going to keep playing until somebody says like, no, like we're hanging your pads up, like you're done. And then eventually, like I'll go and pursue the medicine dream. And the really cool thing for me is both those goals kind of really, were kind of almost synergistic to me at the end of the day, because, you know, being able to have those experiences of like playing football in McMaster and then playing football in like the CFL and kind of all those life experiences really set me up nicely for like applying to medical school. Because, you know, when I got into interviews, they'd be like, you know, name a time you've been, like had a leadership role. And I was like, okay, sick. Like name a time you've been a part of a team. I was like, okay, that's a layup. Like, excellent. So like at the end of the day, it's people are like, oh, they're different, but it's like, no. Like a lot of like the things like they're looking for, like in medical school, like are like big things that you can kind of learn from football. And I don't think it's like a football specific thing, but even just like team sports. And so, you know, it's interesting to me how those like kind of different goals have ended up like kind of merging together for me. And so I'm really happy with how, you know, everything has worked out for me.
Yeah, and speaking of med school, especially, one very important part of getting into med school is the MCAT, and we've been super worried about that. We've already bought prep books, and we're planning to take it in like August, and we're just like researching literally every day about how to study better, because we really don't want to take it a second time. So how do you study for the MCAT, given the stress that you were facing already as being with football and everything else that was going on in your life?
For sure. My first piece of advice would be chill out. I even wrote the MCAT twice. If it doesn't work out the first time, it's not the end of the world. You know, for me, the first time I wrote it, it was like I didn't really get what I was getting myself into. Like I didn't really, like I wrote a practice test the day before and I was like, uh-oh, like I didn't realize it was like this. And I showed up and I got lit. I got clapped on the first go around. And so then the second go around, I was like, you know, oh, so now, okay, like this is actually like you should study like way before this to like get ready for it. So for me, how it ended up playing out really nicely was, you know, I didn't write that second attempt until after my first CFL season. So then after that first CFL season, I kind of had that nice, like long off season where I was able to kind of put, you know, kind of all my energy into getting ready for the MCAT. And I think going and getting clapped by it the first time was a nice kind of eye opener to be like, okay, like that happened. It kind of sucked, whatever. And then, you know, I just like you guys, I went on the internet. I probably was the biggest lurker on our MCAT of literally all time. So I got, you need any like secrets from our MCAT, hit me up. I got you. But, you know, and then I just like focused on getting ready for it the right way. And then I kind of had the time to do it. And then that second time around, it didn't seem as big of a deal because I was actually, you know, ready for it. What I would tell you guys is definitely take advantage of doing, you know, practice tests, get after it at UWorld. I'm not a sponsor. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. I'm not good. If they do want to send me like some free like med school stuff though, please UWorld hit me up. But UWorld was super helpful. But just like use all the resources. And I think there's this big air of like, oh, it's such a scary test. And it sucks. I mean, it's like an 8-hour test. It sucks. But like it is doable. And I think it's more of a getting through all the content and then actually practicing all the content and just giving yourself enough time. Don't be me on the first attempt who gave it like a couple weeks and then got clapped. Like just prepare for it the right way. And there's so many good, like Google is your friend. Just type in like the ways to study for the MCAT. That subreddit really helped me out a ton. Like whenever people ask like how you get ready for the MCAT, I'm like, just go to there. They got a sidebar, just read the whole thing. They're going to take care of you just fine. But yeah, don't trip too hard. And then the thing is like in the States, people trip out because they're like, oh, they're going to look at my first attempt, second attempt. They're going to average it all out. To my knowledge, I don't want to lie to anybody. Like, to my knowledge, in Canada, they generally just take your best attempt, and you can take it like 7 times. So, I get the anxiety piece to it, but definitely be kind to yourself and prepare the right way for it, and you're going to do well.
Mark, did you rely just on internet sources, or did you end up buying like books and like the official books from Exam Crackers or Kaplan or any other like Princeton Review or something?
Right. So the way I did it was I went went on Amazon. I got the Kaplan books and I said, okay, I'm going to do that first pass. I love YouTube. So if I could do anything on Khan Academy, Saul Khan is my literal hero. That guy, I want to get like a shirt with his face on it or something, because me and him are like, I don't know if he knows it, but we've spent a ton of time together, like going through videos. So those like Khan Academy, like MCAT videos, so it would be sweet. So like what I would do is I'd read the Kaplan books, and then like if I like understood the topic, I'd be like, all right, that next topic. If I didn't get it though, then I'd be like, okay, time to like head to YouTube and like watch a video. So like pretty much all of magnetism. I still don't get how magnets work. I think it's like weird voodoo magic or something. MRI machines, that's a mystery. But anywho, so I'd watch YouTube videos, and then what was really important wasn't just like going through it. It was actually like doing practice questions. So that's kind of where like I did UWorld. I know there's like other like places you can get practice questions from. Do a bunch of practice questions, and then I saved all the AAMC material. That's another like major key. Do not write the MCAT unless you have done every piece of like the AAMC practice material. So that's like the section banks, that's like the Q packs, and then they have 3 of the practice tests. And like write those practice tests like a real MCAT. So like literally set up a day where you're like, this is like a real deal thing. And I found like that really, I was like laughing at once I did the AAMC material, I laughed. Like I was like, I can't believe I wrote this test like without doing this stuff the first time. So if you're going to get anything, get the AAMC material. And then for me, like I was able to learn flying on my own. I know some people do the courses, and all I'd say about that is I don't think they're necessary. But like, if you're the type of person where like a strict schedule would really help you, and like having that like interpersonal feedback would be really helpful for you, then like go for it. But like, if you're just like, oh, should I do a course? Or like, there's so much stuff online, and there's like a couple of resources on Amazon away from being like set to go. Sorry, that's a really long answer, but I spent way too much time on our MCAT.
No, it's actually helping us because we were also wondering how to prepare best for the MCAT. But going into an 8-hour exam, I know you experienced it before, but how was it after you were prepared? It was still 8 hours, so it's always a different experience, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I wrote it with a buddy, and I remember walking out of it with him, and we were dead bodies essentially. Like my girlfriend picked us up at the time, and both me and him just like we were snoozing in the back seat like all the way back to London. So it was pretty exhausting. The second time around, like I knew what I was getting myself into, but it's just kind of, you can get hyped up for it, but it's just like any other like big exam. You got all this like pent up energy almost in your head that you're just like, I want to just let this out. And then there's that big sigh of relief and exhaustion, and you get all this anxiety, but you don't get the mark back for a month. So, it is what it is. Just go in, do the best you can do. And, generally speaking, if you've done all that practice material, at the end of the day, even if you go in and suck, like you're not going to do much worse than how you prepared. So, I mean, that's kind of what I told myself. And I think that helped. But yeah, nothing you can do about an 8-hour, that's just a long day at the office.
Yeah, exactly. And I've heard that people always say if you walk out of that exam feeling happy about yourself or with yourself, you're insane. That's honestly what I've heard from a lot of people and what I've been hearing. So I guess it's a pretty normal feeling, to be honest. And aside from the grueling stress of an MCAT exam, obviously the med school application has many other components to it. It's like letters of reference or like extracurricular activities that you've got to write for that ab statement you've got to fill out. So what did you use for those kinds of non-mark related, non-academic related parts of the application?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, the one of the best parts of my application was like, I did football and I did so good, like blah, 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 blah. So like that worked out for me great because it was like, oh, okay, you have like a unique thing about you. And that's what I encourage people when they ask me is like, how do I make my thing stand out? And it's like, just like have something in there that you really love and that's kind of unique, and then just, you know, sound like you're really interested about it. Well, you should be really interested about it, but like, you know, make that your piece. So like I had that no problem with football. That was the easy part for me. The tough part for me is I'm filling out this whole thing and I'm like, okay, so this football activity, volunteering, football, okay, work experience, football. And I'm reading through, I'm like, oh man, I got kind of like all football stuff. So my kind of challenge for myself was like finding the time to like get those kind of extra like volunteer experiences and like extracurriculars that like weren't necessarily football. One of the nice things for me that really helped out was getting sent back from Edmonton for that 5th year. I was able to kind of do like a research thesis deal where I kind of jumped in like with a lab at McMaster and was able to kind of jump on that research. And that like really helped, you know, not only for studying for the MCAT, because like doing that, actually reading those research papers, that really helped when I got to the bio section again. You have to read those like long prompts. I was like, okay, I've actually read some research papers. I can actually understand like 20% of this now instead of the 3% I understood last time. So that helped out. But like, so for me, it was just like a battle of like expanding out from football and finding those different things. And, you know, I think, you know, some people I'm sure have like 150 things they could throw into those things. And like other people, you might not even be able to fill out all the boxes. I'm not sure how important. I just think that what's important is like what you're throwing in there, like you're passionate about, you can talk about, and it shows that you weren't like, oh, I did this for one weekend. It was like, no, like you actually kind of care about the thing you were doing. So that was kind of my approach, was just to kind of try to cover all those bases, but to be genuine about it. And yeah.